Thank you. Thank you all very much. And it's a great privilege for me to be here. Let me say first a personal thank you to all of you and to people who have been so kind and so generous over the last few days, including, by the way, my fellow candidates who will be here today. And I'm very proud to have my wife Elizabeth here with me today. And I also want to thank CAP and the SEIU for sponsoring this forum and for talking about an issue that's so important to us, to all Americans. And what we have is a dysfunctional healthcare system in the United States of America. And what we need is big, bold, dramatic change, not small change. And we need to not just fix our healthcare system, we need to fix our military and veterans healthcare system, which desperately needs work, as we've all seen recently. Let me talk just briefly about my plan for universal health care, and then I'm sure we'll get into more detail as we go through this conversation. Basically, what we do is cover all Americans. In my plan, there are shared responsibilities. The employers are required to either cover their employees or to pay into a fund that will help pay for coverage for their employees. The government plays an important role. The government will set up health care markets all across America. And in each of those markets, if you're the consumer, you can go in and choose what your health care plan will be. Some of the choices are private insurers, and then one choice is a government plan, basically a Medicare Plus plan. And the idea is to determine whether Americans actually want a private insurer or whether they'd rather have a government-run Medicare Plus kind of single-payer plan. And we'll find out over time which way people go. This healthcare plan also covers the cracks that exist in our healthcare system. There's complete mental health parity. There's coverage for chronic care, coverage for preventative care, coverage for long-term care. We subsidize health insurance premiums for low-income and middle-income families. That caps out at about $80,000 of income a year. There are huge cost containment pieces in this healthcare plan. The requirement of preventative care. We require, by competition, lower administrative costs. We're spending 30 to 40 cents on each dollar, healthcare dollar today for administrative costs. We're going to bring those down, bring them down dramatically. We require and demand the use of technology, the use of electronic record keeping, both of which are more efficient and help bring down healthcare costs. And then we're going to have a systematic way to measure what's working, what's the most effective treatment, how do we get the most effective drugs and the least costly drugs. So the idea is cover everybody, bring down healthcare costs for every single American, which this plan, I believe, will do, fill in the cracks in our healthcare system. And the last responsible party, besides the employers and the government, are individuals. Everyone in America will be required to, by law, to be covered by this healthcare plan. And the last thing I'll tell you is the cost is $90 to $120 billion a year. That's the government's cost. And I pay for it by rolling back George Bush's tax cuts for people who make over $200,000 a year. Thank you all very much.
Right here, Senator. Thank you, Senator, and especially after the week that you and your family have had. We so appreciate you being here. And of course, everyone's best wishes and prayers go to your family and of course to Mrs. Edwards. Of all the candidates that we are going to be hearing from today, you are the only one who has a detailed, specific plan as to how you're going to get to universal coverage. And you have been candid enough to say that it involves tax increases. But one of the reasons you have said that you feel so strongly about being specific on health care, and you were much more cautious when you ran in 2004, is the personal experience that your family has been through with Mrs. Edwards' illness. And so on that score, as you had a big decision to make this week, you made it very quickly. But as people look at the situation you are in, that you and your family are in, the fact that you are trying to do two all-consuming things here at once, and that however positive the course of this treatment turns out to be, there are going to be a lot of personal ups and downs for you over the next year and a half. How are you going to be able to manage both of those? And what do you say to people who are thinking about supporting you, are thinking about contributing to your campaign, but are really worried about your ability to take care of two all-consuming things at one time? Will you be in this race for the duration?
Oh, I'm definitely in the race for the duration. What shows from our own personal experience, this is not the first challenge like this that Elizabeth and I have been through. As many of you know, we lost a son about 11 years ago now, in 1996, and we've gone through Elizabeth's first round of breast cancer treatment. We went through that together. So we know what it's like to function in a very difficult environment. And there is a focus and a maturity that I think is required to be able to do that. But I know, because I've done it in the past, that we can do it. I know because of the nature of the woman I'm married to that she will be there every single step of the way, making sure that we do it. And we take our responsibility to serving this country very seriously. And it is the reason I'm running for president, because I love this country. I think we can do so much better than we're doing now. And we want to serve, both of us, which is why we made the decision to go forward. But I want to add one thing, because there's been an awful lot of attention focused on the two of us, and I think we're getting far too much credit. When you look at all the millions of women who've had to struggle with the same sort of struggles that Elizabeth has had, and many of them have had to struggle with it without what we have, without great health care coverage, without knowing they're going to be able to get all the medicine and medications that they need. I mean, one of the reasons that I want to be president of the United States is to make sure that every woman and every person in America gets the same kind of things that we have. Because it's not right that a woman has to go through, or anybody has to go through, this kind of struggle and have to worry about whether they can afford the medicine they need, whether they can get the health care that they need. We don't have to worry about that. And no American should have to worry about that. And as Elizabeth said just a couple of days ago, you know, for us, we can focus on what needs to be done for our family and for our country. But a lot of women with exactly the same diagnosis had to get up the next morning and go to work, and the next morning and go to work. So before we start giving too much credit to us, let's do what we need to do for all these women.
Thank you, Senator. One of the criticisms of your plan has been that it's not aggressive enough in dealing with health care costs. You talk about saving money through preventive care, through using technology that is available but that really isn't being used a lot in the healthcare industry. But right now, I'd like to turn to one of the members of our audience, Jack Marco, who is the owner of a small business, who wants to know how you are going to how you are going to come to grips with the kind of rising healthcare costs that he has to deal with every day and that threaten his business. And Jack, are you here?